OpenAI just announced they're retiring GPT-4o. Not because it's broken, not because people stopped using it. They're deleting a product that millions of people actively use while it's still generating revenue. And if that sounds insane from a business perspective, you're paying attention. Because on the surface, this makes no sense. But beneath it reveals everything about the brutal economics of AI that companies don't advertise. Here's what's really happening. Running AI models costs a fortune, not in development, but in ongoing inference. Every single query, every conversation, every API call costs compute. And when you're running 5 different model versions simultaneously, each one optimized for different use cases, those costs compound. OpenAI isn't killing GPT-4o because it failed. They're killing it because success at scale is expensive, and the economics force a choice: consolidate or collapse. In this video, we're breaking down the real costs of AI infrastructure, why model retirement is becoming standard practice across the industry, what it reveals about competitive strategy, and what this means if you're building on AI APIs. Let's start with the facts. OpenAI announced that GPT-4o, GPT-4.1, GPT-4.1 mini, and the o4 mini model are all being retired from ChatGPT. The timeline varies by model, but the pattern is clear: consolidation. Users will be migrated to newer models. Existing integrations will need to update, and anyone building applications on these specific model versions needs to plan for transition. This isn't a minor cleanup. This is retiring multiple actively used products simultaneously. OpenAI isn't alone. This is becoming standard practice. Google regularly sunsets AI features and model versions. Anthropic has consolidated their Claude model lineup. Even Meta, which open sources Llama, maintains only a few model weights at a time. The entire industry is moving toward fewer models, updated more frequently, with aggressive deprecation cycles. This is very different from traditional software, where legacy versions might be supported for years. In AI, models have lifespans measured in months, not years. User reactions ranged from confused to frustrated. Some users had workflows built around specific model characteristics. GPT-4o had particular strengths in multimodal tasks. GPT-4.1 excelled at certain coding patterns. Developers had tested and validated specific models for their use cases. Now they have to revalidate, retest, and potentially re-architect. And here's the kicker: the replacement models might be better on benchmarks, but worse for specific user needs. This isn't hypothetical. Multiple developers reported regressions when forced to migrate from their preferred model version. So why retire successful products? The answer is in the infrastructure costs. Let's break down what it actually costs to run an AI model at scale. Every time someone sends a query to GPT-4o, OpenAI pays for compute, specifically GPU time. And GPUs are expensive. A single NVIDIA H100 GPU, the industry standard for AI inference, costs about $35,000. But that's just the hardware. The real cost is operation. Power consumption for high-performance GPUs is measured in kilowatts. Cooling requirements are substantial, and you need thousands of them running simultaneously. Here's the part that surprised me when I first learned it. The cost structure of AI is inverted compared to traditional software. With normal software, development is expensive, but deployment is cheap. You build it once, then serving users costs almost nothing. Software scales beautifully. But AI is the opposite. Training costs are huge, yes, but inference costs are ongoing and proportional to usage. The more successful your AI product, the more it costs you to run. Success doesn't lead to profit margins improving. Success leads to costs compounding. Then there's the long tail problem. When you maintain multiple model versions, you can't just shut down the old infrastructure. Some users are on GPT 4.0, some are on GPT 4.1, some are on mini variants. Each one requires dedicated GPU clusters because you can't efficiently run different model architectures on the same hardware. So you're operating parallel infrastructure, multiple data centers, multiple optimization pipelines, multiple support matrices. The operational complexity multiplies with every model version you maintain. This isn't like supporting multiple versions of an app. This is maintaining separate factories for each product variant. OpenAI's reported costs give us a sense of scale. According to industry analyses, OpenAI's compute costs are estimated at over $2 billion annually. That's not revenue. That's just keeping the servers running. When you're burning through GPUs at that rate, every efficiency gain matters. Retiring GPT 4.0 and consolidating to fewer models means fewer GPU clusters to maintain, less parallel infrastructure, reduced power consumption, simplified operations. The savings from consolidation aren't trivial. They're potentially hundreds of millions of dollars per year. But cost savings aren't the only reason. There's a strategic dimension to model retirement. When you retire old models and force users to upgrade, you create a feedback loop. Everyone moves to the latest model. That model gets more usage data. More usage data improves the model faster. Faster improvements make the latest model even better. This concentrates users on a single version, which accelerates your iteration cycle. It's a competitive moat disguised as a deprecation policy. There's also the user experience consideration. Multiple model versions confuse users. Which one should I use? What's the difference between GPT 4.0 and GPT 4.1? Is Mini worse or just faster? OpenAI's research shows that most users don't understand model distinctions. They just want the best one. By consolidating to fewer, clearer options, OpenAI simplifies choice and reduces decision fatigue. It also allows them to put all their optimization effort into a smaller number of models, making those models better than if effort was spread across many variants. Different companies are taking different approaches. OpenAI consolidates aggressively. Google maintains multiple Gemini variants but clearly tiers them. Anthropic keeps Claude versions distinct but limits the number. Meta open sources but only releases major versions, not every intermediate model. What's notable is that no major player is expanding their model lineup. Everyone is consolidating. The experimental phase of let's release many models and see what works is over. We're now in the optimization phase of maintain only what we can support excellently. There's a deeper strategic play here. By retiring models frequently, AI companies prevent users from getting too attached to specific versions. This reduces the risk of legacy lock-in. In traditional enterprise software, companies get stuck supporting ancient versions because customers won't upgrade. Microsoft still supports decades-old software because enterprises depend on it. But AI companies are establishing from the start that models are ephemeral. Rapid deprecation becomes the norm. Users expect it, and that gives companies freedom to innovate without being weighed down by legacy support obligations. It's proactive management of technical debt. So, what does this mean if you're building on AI APIs? First, accept that model retirement is the new normal. If your architecture depends on a specific model version staying available forever, you're building on sand. This isn't like relying on Python 3 being supported. AI models have life cycles measured in months. Your code needs to be model agnostic. Abstract away the specific model. Use configuration instead of hard-coded model names. Build with the assumption that you'll be migrating regularly. Second, understand the vendor lock-in dynamics. When you build on OpenAI's API exclusively, you're betting on their product stability and pricing remaining favorable. But what if they retire the model you depend on? What if they increase API pricing? You have no leverage. Diversification matters. Use abstraction layers that allow model swapping. Test your application with multiple providers. Consider open source models as fallbacks. This isn't paranoia. ServiceNow just announced partnerships with both OpenAI and Anthropic, specifically to avoid single vendor dependence. If enterprises are hedging, you should too. Third, monitor the economics. AI companies are burning billions maintaining infrastructure. That's not sustainable without path to profitability, which means API pricing will trend upward over time. Free tiers will shrink. Subsidized costs will normalize. If your business model depends on AI inference staying cheap, stress test what happens when costs double or triple, because history suggests they will. Nothing this expensive stays artificially cheap forever. Plan for AI costs as a growing percentage of your operational budget, not a fixed expense. Finally, consider the open source alternative. Yes, open source models generally lag proprietary ones in capability, but the gap is narrowing, and open source has one massive advantage. You control the infrastructure. RCAI just released Trinity, a 400 billion parameter open source model that rivals GPT-4 on many benchmarks. Meta's Llama models are competitive for many use cases. If you're willing to manage infrastructure, open source eliminates vendor risk entirely. No model retirements because you host the model. No API price increases because you pay only for compute. It's a trade-off: capability and convenience versus control and cost predictability. Looking ahead, expect model life cycles to get even shorter. As AI companies iterate faster, the time between major releases shrinks. GPT-3 to GPT-4 was over a year. GPT-4 to GPT-4.5 variance is measured in months. This acceleration means the window where any specific model is current is narrowing. We're heading toward continuous deployment in AI. Not discrete version releases, but rolling improvements with deprecation happening on aggressive timelines. The software model of versioned releases is giving way to a service model of continuous evolution. This creates interesting questions for regulation and compliance. In regulated industries like healthcare or finance, you can't just swap AI models without revalidation. If a hospital uses GPT-4o for clinical decision support and validates it through their review process, they can't casually migrate to a replacement model. That replacement needs its own validation. But if OpenAI retires GPT-4o before the hospital completes new model validation, there's a gap. Regulatory frameworks built on stable software versions don't map well to AI's rapid deprecation cycles. This tension will force either AI companies to maintain longer support windows for enterprise, or regulators to adapt approval processes for continuous model evolution. The economic pressure isn't going away. If anything, it's intensifying. As model capability increases, so does size and compute cost. Training GPT-5 will cost more than GPT-4. Running it at scale will cost more. Without breakthrough efficiency gains, the economics push toward fewer, not more, model options. And that means retirement will remain aggressive. Users need to adapt to AI as infrastructure that's constantly shifting, not stable platforms you build on for years. It's a fundamentally different relationship between users and technology than we're accustomed to. If you want to understand the business and economics driving AI development, not just the capabilities, subscribe to Key Advances. We cover what's really happening beneath the surface. If this breakdown helped you understand why AI companies retire products while they're still successful, hit that like button. It signals to YouTube that substantive analysis matters. Ring that bell for the next deep dive. We're covering AI's copyright crisis next, the $3 billion lawsuit that could reshape how AI training works. Don't miss it. Let's recap. OpenAI is retiring GPT-4o and multiple other models despite active usage. The reason is economics. AI inference costs are ongoing and proportional to usage, unlike traditional software where costs decrease with scale. Running multiple model versions simultaneously requires parallel infrastructure, multiplying operational complexity and costs. Consolidation saves potentially hundreds of millions annually, but it's also strategic. Forcing migration concentrates users on latest models, accelerating improvement feedback loops, and creating competitive moats. Different companies are taking different approaches, but all are consolidating, not expanding model lineups. For users, this means building with model-agnostic architectures, diversifying across vendors, monitoring cost trajectories, and considering open-source alternatives. Expect model life cycles to get shorter, retirement cycles to remain aggressive, and regulatory challenges as stable validation processes collide with rapid AI evolution. So, model retirement isn't about failure. It's about economics and strategy. AI companies are making hard choices between maintaining many models and running sustainable businesses. And that means the products we use will be ephemeral. Next video, we're tackling the copyright crisis in AI. Anthropic is facing a $3 billion lawsuit over training data. But this isn't about one company. It's about whether AI training on copyrighted content is legal at all. It's a huge topic with massive implications. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching Key Advances.